beginning with Norma, everyone talks about how, she was so many things, the queen of the kingdom, the first lady of the NFL, first lady of the Kansas City Chiefs, so much, right? And obviously she's been to every Super Bowl. I mean, was that the thing? She had been to every Super Bowl. That's just because that's what everyone keeps talking about. Kind of talk to us about that a little bit. Some of the historical impacts of the Norma Hunt career.
Well, yes, and when and Jason was saying this earlier, with Norma, the things that really stand out was just her grace, her kindness, her thoughtfulness. She was so gracious, and yes, she did attend every Super Bowl. The only woman that ever did that. But even more than that with her, and that's well documented, but she had this way when she met you, no matter who you were, she would make you feel comfortable. She would make you feel welcomed. She always had that smile. And she was with Lamar. They got married in January 22nd, 1964. But she began with the Dallas Texans when that first year helping to sell tickets. And that was how Lamar first met her. Jason, you were saying that you were kind of leading to this before, but she had this way to reduce life. And Bob Moore, this is a quote from Bob Moore, our longtime PR person. He wrote a really heartfelt column in Chiefs.com that was published either last night or this morning. And Bob said she reduced life to its essentials. And she was so gracious and so kind and so thoughtful. And she just, no matter who you were, what you did, or whatever your lot was in life, she just made you feel really comfortable in that smile. I know in my time with the Chiefs, I've lost 3 family members, a father, a brother, and a mother in that period of time. And every single time I got a very nice handwritten note from Norma. And that's just special. That's just very, very special. Now, tying it to the Washington visit, the DC visit on Monday, obviously for winning the Super Bowl. So do you know how the Super Bowl even got its name? Okay. Norma had something to do with that. So Lamar wanted a team in the NFL back in 1959, but he couldn't get them to get an expansion team. So very, very naively, he needed to start a new football league to get his own football team. So in 1960, he launched what was called the American Football League, or the AFL. Today it's known as the AFC. But his team was in Dallas. They were called the Dallas Texans. And throughout their 10-year existence of the American Football League, before they merged with the NFL, when they announced this merger, which Lamar was very, very instrumental in the merger talks, bringing the 2 leagues to come together, they were talking about, as a result of this merger, they were talking about this first championship game that they were going to play. And Lamar always wondered, even when he first started the American Football League, who had the better team between the AFL and the NFL. So as they were talking about this championship they were going to play after the 1966 season, Lamar's mind, I'm going to see if this shows up to you, but this little toy, it's called a Super Ball, okay? It's made by Whammo. Norma bought this little toy for the children, okay, for their kids. And when they were talking about this AFL, NFL World Championship game, trying to come up with a name to call it, Lamar actually thought about this little toy that their children played with, that Norma bought the children, called a Super Ball. It is made by Whammo. And Lamar made the comment, yeah, this game we're going to play, this Super Bowl. And he had this little toy in mind. And this was the toy Norma had bought the children to play with. So it kind of just all came to full circle, where the Chiefs were able to, be victorious in Super Bowl 57. They go to the White House on Monday, right after Norma's going on to eternal life. And it's just kind of a neat little connection there. That and I think, Jason, you said it, Norma, or maybe Marcus, you said it, that Norma and Lamar, they're looking down from heaven and saying, yes, enjoy that, because it was never about them. It was always about the others, and they were very happy and proud that the Chiefs were able to experience what they did on Monday.
I was having a conversation with one of the guys I played college football with, and I was trying to explain to him what Lamar and Norma, what they actually built in Kansas City. And I said, it's a rarity to have someone that owns a team that knows everything about a player, who wouldn't mind coming down to the locker room and talk about your mom or your brother, and just carry on a conversation. And that's how it was. The way that they just carried themselves, like you said, Mike, was just with so much like elegance, and it was so welcoming. And you just tell with the kindness that they had in their heart, how they just treated each and every person there, and I can just imagine how it was, like as far as like everybody else, all the other employees in the facility. But I was just amazed at how Lamar would just remember everybody's name. And also too, when we have, of course, the parties for the team and whatnot, Norma would come up and she'll come and speak to guys. I was like, that's a rare occasion. I played for one other team, but I know from hearing from other people, guys playing from different teams, that it just wasn't like that. You just didn't really have owners that was engaged in, the employees or the players. They just wasn't. And it was always like this separate point of like, obviously you're the player, the grunt work, and everybody is above here. And that's kind of how other people roll. But it was never like that. It was never like that with Norma and Lamar. And that's what I just so much loved about the organization in itself. That's why everybody loves Kansas City, because they embody everything what they wanted it to be, really. And so I think that's what it talks a lot about, how Kansas City is such a like a friendly town. Everybody wants to come to Kansas City. They talk about how great the fans are. All these things, I think, encompasses part of what then the vision was with Norma and Lamar in this. And then, with Clark taking over, just continuing the legacy of what it is. So I don't even think about the Super Bowl at all. That's a wonderful story, man. That is a great story. I'll never forget that, though. That's wonderful. Wonderful. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's just kind of it just ties it all together. And of course, she lived a wonderful life, and they were never intrusive, but they were always, when Lamar would come in the locker room after a game, win or lose, it wasn't like some grand entrance where, he just was, his way. He'd come in that one door and he would stop at every player locker and shake your hand. And if you won, congratulations. And if we lost, he'd say, we'll get them next time.
That's right.
And he went to every single player in that locker room and shook their hand afterwards. And I think of Lamar, and in the office that we have, there's a big photo of Lamar, and every morning when I walk in and I see that, I always just stop and it makes me feel good. If you want to read a really good column, like I was telling you, Bob Moore just wrote it, and it was put on the Chiefs.com website, and he called it the Grand Lady of Sports. And it's a really heartfelt column he wrote on Norma. I'd really recommend that you read it. It really summarizes there. And of course, Bob's such a good writer anyway. You remember Bob, our PR
absolutely.
Director.
Absolutely.
It's a very good column. And I told Bob this morning, I said, Bob, you've done a lot of great writing over the years, but I think that was your best work you've ever done. So it's really good.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.